There are messages in this week's Parsha that I think are very relevant to the world we're living in right now, and I'd like to attempt to explore them and see as they relate to us. Of course, the stories in the Torah talk about the greatest of the great. The generation of the Jews that travel through the desert, who are the people in this week's Parsha, are referred to as the Dor Dea, the generation of connection, of deep knowledge and connection. Very great level. So any lesson we're going to take is a lesson as it applies to us in our lives. This is the period of time the Jews are traveling through the desert. A desert in Hebrew is called a midbar. The shorish, the root of the word midbar, was explained to us by Rav Moshe Shapiro, one of the great thinkers of the Torah world of this generation. He explained that midbar is rooted in the word dabar, leadership, or dibur, which is speech. And the way you lead is with speech. The mem at the beginning of the word, the m sound, tells you that it's lacking. There's a lack of leadership. There's a lack of communication. There's a gap within the communication of speech. Something's missing there. And sure enough, we see many of the sins and the challenges the Jews go through in the desert have to do with speech. Complaining about what they're lacking in terms of food that they didn't have since they left Mitzrayim, since they left Egypt. The sin of Miriam speaking Lashon Hara negative about her brother Moshe, the spies coming out with the negative reports, and so on in the future weeks. They're all related to speech, but I believe that if we analyze a few of these situations, we could see that that which brought about the negative speech was different in each case. And there's a lesson for us in each one. The first case is when the Jews complained about the food. They were given the man, they were unsatisfied with the man, and they wanted the food that they had in Mitzrayim, the food that they had in Egypt. And they came with very strong allegations. We remember Egypt and all the wonderful times there that we ate freely. The question is, you just left Egypt a short while ago. You were enslaved for 210 years. It was absolutely hell on earth. It was incredibly terrible. And Hashem performed these incredible miracles for you, the 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea, giving you the Torah, the manna, the man, the well, the clouds of glory surrounding you, the protection. Obviously, Hashem loves you and has your back and has your best interests in mind. Why are you complaining? He's going to take care of you. He didn't perform all those miracles to just forget about you now. And not only that, he loves you. He's your father, and he knows what's best for you. And perhaps what's going on is that the Jews got scared. And in the moment of getting scared, they lost all perspective. They lost all perspective, and all they saw was, oh my God, how are we going to survive here? It's a crisis. And they said what they said. And lesson number one is retain perspective. Keep a sense of calmness. Have your sense of trust in Hashem. And when you lose that, terrible things can be said. But if we can hold on to that, we're okay. The next sin was Miriam speaking about Moshe, where the way Maimonides, Rambam, defines it, is she equated Moshe to the other prophets. She said, I'm a prophet, my brother Aaron's a prophet, Moshe is a prophet. Why is he acting in a way differently than us? And perhaps what we could see from the Rambam, as some explain, is that the root of Lashon Hara is not seeing unique greatness in each person. He's like us. He's just one of the guys. No, as soon as you start seeing people as just one of the guys, then everything's lost. Each person is special. I mentioned in a recording earlier this week that my father was a public high school teacher for 33 years in the New York City public school system. And the public school he taught in went through rough times, and there was a rough group of students there. People would ask my father, how do you teach these students? Aren't you intimidated by them, these groups, these gangs, and so on? And my father would say the same thing. If you get to know them one at a time, they're nice kids. They're good kids. Get to know them one at a time. That's the antidote to Lashon Hara. So the Lashon Hara, the gossip, is rooted in a perspective that's wrong. If we can change that perspective on other people, that'll fix my speech. But with that, we come to the sin of the spies. They're about to go into the land of Israel. The Jews say, wait a second. We need spies to find out what's going on in Israel, what's going on in the land of Canaan, and so on. They send the spies. Spies come back. 10 out of 12 come back with very negative messages. Says one of the great commentators of the 19th century, the Netziv, Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, that the issue was that the Jews were intimidated by Hashem's relating to them in what's called Lamayla Min HaTeva, above nature. Hashem related to them. Hashem said, I'm going to take you and relate to you in a way that breaks nature. The miraculous in the desert, and you're going to continue experiencing that in Israel. The problem is that in order to merit for Hashem to deal with you above nature, you need to be on a higher spiritual level. And the Jews said, we can't do it. We can't do that. Just downgrade things to teva, to nature, and we'll be fine. We can live in those terms. And therefore they said, let's prepare for that. Let's send spies to the land of Israel. If we're going in a realm of above nature, there's no need to send spies. Hashem's got your back. He's going to take care of you. The answer is no. We're dealing with it in natural terms. In natural terms, we need to send spies. We need to find the right way to attack, the right way to go into the land of Israel. We need to find all this out. What was their mistake? Their mistake was in two areas, in listening and in speaking. In listening, Hashem tells you, Hashem gives you the ultimate compliment. I am telling you, you can live in a realm of above nature. And your response is, no, we can't. We can't do that. Where's your listening? You know, when people push you, as a rabbi, I've been called the pusher because I push people. I try to push them out of their comfort zone. You can take on that mitzvah. You can begin studying Torah. You can work on this character trait. You can be better. You can do more. People don't like being pushed. No, don't push me. I'm okay. I'm good the way I am. I'm good where I am. Listen to the compliment and the vote of confidence you're being given when people tell you you can do that. When people tell you that you can be better than that. They didn't listen to that. And who's telling it? It's Hashem who loves them, not only loves them, who knows them best. But the second step is the communication. So you feel you can't exist in the realm above nature. Go talk to Moshe. Go talk to Moses. Go talk to the leader of the Jews. Have a conversation. Find out about this. There's no talking, there's no listening. And that's where everything breaks down, and that's where everything falls apart. Obviously, for them, it was a very great, lofty level. But for us, we live in a world right now, wherever you stand on the political spectrum, there's a gap in communication and there's a gap in listening. People have the attitude, wherever they stand, I only want to hear people agree with me. I will not go to the website because they don't subscribe to my political views. I will not be your friend on social media. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have a friendship with you because you don't agree with me. I want my own set of facts. I want my own way of looking at things, my own perspective, my own group of people agreeing with me or reporting back to me. As I told one of the other rabbis this week, I said, we need to educate the community, to educate people in learning how to disagree strongly and respectfully. You don't have to agree with somebody else. There's nothing wrong with disagreement. Disagreement is wonderful. Because when we disagree and we argue, we start seeing a bigger picture. Your perspective, my perspective, there's aspects of truth here, there's aspects that are correct there, and so on. We start seeing things in a much more profound way when we disagree. But if we disagree, as I heard someone recently do, someone turned to someone else on the political spectrum and said, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I don't know how you can think like that. Can you explain that to me? That makes no sense. Well, of course, there's no conversation once you say that. We have to learn. As one rabbi told me, he said, I've become a master of turning to someone at my Shabbos table and saying, I disagree with you completely and emphatically. Now, can you please pass over the Coke? In other words, I've said I've spoken my piece. I've spoken what I think, but I still respect you and we're still friends. That is what's lacking right now. We have to learn from the Meraglim, from the spies, from the sin of the spies. We have to listen and we have to learn to talk. We have to listen effectively. If somebody says something, hear what they're saying. Consider their ideas. Respect them. And also respect what they might be saying to you as a growth opportunity, whatever it is, not necessarily in politics, in anything in life. And number two is communicate. Communicate respectfully, effectively. If we do that, then we're truly rectifying the sins of speech. Then we're sinning. So if we can learn from these examples of retaining a sense of perspective, a trust in people that believe in us, seeing the greatness in others, and listen and communicate, life starts changing. Things start changing. The summer, this Shabbos is the Shabbos Mevorchen, the Shabbos that we bless, we herald in the coming of the month of Tammuz. During the summer, we experience months of Tammuz and Av. These are difficult months, spiritually, historically difficult months. What better way to bring an antidote and to bring a transformation to these months than to learn to work at the core of who I am as a human being, to transform my speech, to transform my way of communication, my way of listening, to honor another human being by the way that I listen to them, honor another human being in the way I speak to them, honor myself in the way I listen to other people. This is true greatness. I believe if we do this, this is first of all a lesson through which we can start changing the attitude around us, the world around us, and it's a way we can truly rectify what we learned from this week's Parsha. Have a wonderful Shabbos. I look forward to seeing you on Shabbos, whether I'll see you at Shul, whether I'll come by and visit you after davening, after services in the morning, or whether you come visit me. We'll be home, I think, most of the afternoon. Come visit, come learn with us on our front lawn, come have a l'chaim, come have a cookie. We look forward to seeing you. Good Shabbos.